Section 103 and Section 104 of the PFM Act, it is quite clear. It says 103 says establishment of the county treasury. 104 says that the head of the county treasury shall be the CC in charge of finance. And only the CC in charge of finance can be able to send requisitions to the control of budget. So we need to be clear here, because sometimes we talk, yet we don't have facts. Today, I want to demystify this issue of the division of revenue bill. Mr. Speaker, sir, this constitution, which all of us read on a daily basis, it's quite clear. If you go to Article 201, Article 202, in fact, Article 201 talks about a fiduciary responsibility. If you look at 201, Mr. Speaker, it says the principles, the following principles shall guide the aspects of public finance in the Republic. And I refer clearly to the public finance system shall promote an equitable society, and in particular, the burden of taxation shall be shared fairly. Revenue raised nationally shall be shared equitably among national and county government. And finally, expenditures shall promote the equitable development of the county, including by making special provision for the marginalized groups and other areas. Now, we talk about the Equalization Fund, Mr. Speaker. Equalization Fund already, and there's a mistake in this report, Mr. Speaker, and I hope that when a report is tabled, we go through it and we look at it. We do not own, Equalization Fund is not owed 2.7 trillion. It is only owed 27 billion. So that should be corrected in this report. That is the first thing. Now, the Committee of Finance is proposing that the money which should be set aside for the Equalization Fund should be 9 billion shillings. Already, there's a debt of 26 billion. How are we going to resolve this debt? We are going to compound debt over debt. We need to be realistic. If we are not able to raise that money, in fact, this is where I differ with the Committee on Finance. Because if we already owed 26 billion, you are asking, what has been proposed is 7 billion. You are asking, saying, add an additional 2 billion. So 27 plus 7 is 34. If you add another 2, is 36 billion. Yet, there is a sunset clause. Sunset clause on this Equalization Fund. The Constitution is actually quite clear in terms of the Equalization Fund. I think it's Article 2, is it 204? 204, it talks about the Equalization Fund, and it sets a sunset clause. For 20 years. And that 20 years is lapsing very soon. So the question that I haven't had the Finance Committee responding to, or any of my colleagues, and I'll seek some wise counsel from my colleague, Senator Eddy, is that what happens if we don't amend the Constitution to be able to extend the time of the Equalization Fund, and the 20 years is coming to an end? What happened? Yet, the money has still not been paid. Is this money going to be in a fund which exists? Or is it going to be in a fund, or it's going to be in a fund that exists? So these are questions that we must ask ourselves diligently. Ask ourselves and see where is the problem and how are we going to resolve this problem. Then it comes to the issue of accountability, Mr. Speaker. We are all complaining that projects are stalling. You know, there are so many projects which the national government has initiated. And when it comes to the issue of Narok County, Mr. Speaker, I want to be very candid and very clear on this. There's an airport which is a responsibility between both the national government and the county government. And I applaud my county government of Narok and the Ministry of Transport because, of course, they have looked at issues to do with Article 187 of the Constitution in terms of a function which is for national government being undertaken by another level of government. And coming and saying, we need this service. If the national government cannot afford it, we, the people of Narok, who I consider ourselves very rich, can be able to afford to build the terminal. So these projects must be completed. You know, when you initiate the project, let's complete them. This is why I said the other day, the contractor, and I want to call upon the Ministry of Transport and KAA, please move to site, because you're not on the site. I was there 2 days ago. I'll be there again on Friday. I'll be a thorn in your flesh to make sure that these projects are completed. That is the only way we are going to be able to make sense. Mr. Speaker, sir, a couple of days ago, I listened to my colleague, Senator Kajwang, and he was raising a very valid point. And Mr. Senator Kajwang really asked a very simple question. He said, why is it that when governors are exiting, they start launching huge projects? They budget huge projects. And this is when the governor is exiting from serving a county for 10 years. When he's leaving, he now launches a big project which becomes a burden to the other incoming governor. In Narok, we had a similar problem with the hospital and the the medical technical training college, which was officially opened by the president the other day. Save from that technical college, the hospital had to be taken over by the national government because it was a project that could not be managed by the county government of Narok. We had a similar case in Kakamega County, where the level 5 hospital, which was being built by the then governor Paranya, became, you know, a white elephant project that could not be completed. So when it comes to the issue of accountability, when it comes to the issue of financial management, all of us, Mr. Speaker, must be alive to the fact that there are limitations. There are things that we can be able to do, and there are things that we cannot be able to do. If we are not alive to the fact that there are limitations, we will be unfair to the current and the future generations. People will commit suicide because their pending bills have not been paid, and yet there's nothing we are doing. We passed a motion here, but being implemented, it becomes a challenge. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, when we are talking about amending the Constitution, there are things that we've seen that do not work in this Constitution when it comes to financial management. You know, there are a lot of companies that collect revenue on behalf of county governments. And since they are required by Section 109 of the PFM Act and our Constitution to be able to remit 100% of the money that they collect to the county revenue fund, for them to be able to bill for their services, whenever they bill for their services, they are not paid. So it creates a problem. So you want this person to raise money for you. But then when he has raised that money for you, you don't want to pay him. Number two, the law says the shareable revenue, the money shall be considered, the Auditor General, the National Assembly shall consider the most current audited financial statements. But guess what? Because we are uncouth, because we are insincere, because we do not subscribe to the principle of, financial responsibility, we must come of age. We must come of age so that we can be measured among other developing nations. Kenya is slowly developing to becoming a developing nation. The freedoms we have here, the ability for us to raise money. But we must live to that standard. So a time will come when it will make sense to amend the Constitution to ensure that when these companies that are collecting revenue on behalf of county governments do collect the revenue, let them deduct their share, which is agreed upon, and they remit the money. You will notice, Mr. Speaker, that most money will reach to the counties. But currently, when you know that you have to send 100% of the money because the PFM Act Section 109 demands that, and I believe it's Article 217 of the Constitution, when you know, and I want to be correct on that, so that I don't leave anything Yeah, I think it's 217. I'm correct that. No, 207. Sorry, Mr. Speaker. When you know that when you send the money that you've collected, you now have to go and beg the county governor for you to be paid your services. It becomes, it demoralizes you in a point where you don't even disclose how much money you've been able to collect. In fact, it's Article 207 of the Constitution, which mirrors Section 109 of the Public Finance Management Act. So, Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I want to reiterate the fact that as a House, all of us, number one, must read this report. Number two, we must always have a sense of occasion. All of us must debate on facts to be able to guide this nation. We must be able to come out and say that whatever we're debating is what our good committee has undertaken. Not always deviating. There's always a nudge to deviate and talk about current affairs, politics, talk about regional politics, but it doesn't make sense. What will make sense, Mr. Speaker, is if all of us understand the report being submitted by the committee. The distinguished senators sat, burned the midnight oil to be able to demystify the proposals from the National Assembly. It will only be better for us if we can read them. And after reading them and having a conversation with the members of that committee, I believe, and I've come to a firm belief, that the only way the devolution will work is, one, if we send the 450 billion that we agreed between ODM and KK, or in the worst case scenario, we send money that can be able to take care of the undiscretional expenditures. Number three, we also must make sure that we resolve this quagmire, this confusion. We stop dilly-dallying on the matter of equalization fund. The 26 billion, if we add an additional 7 billion, I don't even support my good friend, Senator Eddy, by saying he wants 9 billion.